She was last seen at exactly 12:03 a.m., walking alone under the flickering streetlights. A small red backpack on her shoulder, a black hoodie covering most of her face, and then nothing. No screams, no messages, no footprints. People in the quiet English town still whisper her name, as if speaking louder might invite something darker. But that night, something watched her, and it never looked away. This is the story of Eleanor Grace, the girl who vanished after midnight. Stay close, because what happens next was never supposed to be known. The morning after Eleanor vanished, her mother knocked on the door, softly, expecting her daughter to still be asleep. But the bed was made, her slippers untouched, the charger still plugged in. In the room, silent. At first, they thought she went out early, maybe to the bakery or to meet a friend, but her phone didn't ring. It just buzzed once, and then nothing. By noon, flyers were already printed. The police arrived. They searched her room, her messages, her browser. Then they found the footage. At the gas station, she walked past, just after midnight, and behind her, a shadow. Not walking, not running, just drifting. The camera blinked, and the shadow disappeared. The gas station clerk swears he saw it. He still talks about it, but no one listens. That night, her father sat quietly at the dinner table, staring at her empty chair. And outside, the wind carried whispers through the trees. By the second day, the town had changed. The coffee shop played no music. The librarian didn't smile, and no one made eye contact. Posters were everywhere. On bus stops, fences, doors. Her face, too still, too quiet. The police searched the woods, the river, the old rail yard. Dogs sniffed the leaves. Helicopters circled. Still, nothing. Then a boy found her backpack, near the abandoned sawmill. Red. One zipper broken. Inside were three things: her school ID, a notebook with the first page torn out, and a single red crayon. There were no fingerprints, no signs of blood, no struggle. But there was something strange. Under her name, inside the notebook, another name was written. Messy, uneven. No one knew who it belonged to. No one from town. And the police stopped saying she ran away. The name in the notebook, it wasn't familiar. Not a classmate, not a neighbor, not even a distant cousin. Just 5 letters, scrawled in shaky handwriting, as if written in the dark. The police didn't release the name. They said it could be a clue, or a joke, or something worse. At the same time, a woman across town made a report. She said her dog wouldn't stop barking. At exactly midnight, facing the trees, growling, not barking, like it knew something was out there. And when she looked, there was no one. Just a red ribbon hanging from a branch, the same kind Eleanor used to wear. The woman tied it to her fence. But in the morning, it was gone. Only the branch remained, snapped, as if someone had pulled it hard. The police took her statement, then left. But they didn't take the ribbon, because they never found it. 3 days passed. No sign of Eleanor. No calls. No ransom. Nothing. The town held a candlelight vigil. People cried. They prayed. But no one knew what to say, because no one knew what happened. That night, after the vigil, one of Eleanor's teachers stayed late. She sat alone in her classroom, grading papers. The hallway lights flickered. Once. Then again. She thought it was nothing, until she heard it. A knock. Soft. Slow. Coming from the supply closet. She stood still, heart racing. Another knock. This time, louder. She opened the door. Nothing inside. Just cleaning bottles, a mop, and a piece of red thread on the floor. thin, torn, almost invisible. She picked it up, but the moment she touched it, the classroom clock stopped ticking. And outside, the hallway went dark. The next morning, the teacher didn't return to school. She called in sick, but her voice didn't sound sick. It sounded shaken. The janitor said he found her classroom door open, lights still on, the chair fallen backward. And on the whiteboard, 5 words, written in red marker. She followed me into silence. No one knew who wrote it. The teacher didn't. The cameras saw nothing, only static. During the exact hours she stayed, the school shut that hallway down, called it maintenance. But students whispered. They said it felt colder, darker. And then, a girl in the back row raised her hand in history class. She asked the teacher, "What happens when someone disappears, but they're still watching?" The class went silent because no one noticed her walk in. She wasn't on the roster. No one knew her name. And after class, she was gone. That same night, Eleanor's childhood friend Ivy had a dream. She hadn't spoken to Eleanor in weeks, not since their fight. But in the dream, Eleanor stood at the edge of the woods, barefoot, wearing her favorite yellow dress. Her eyes were open, but she didn't blink. She whispered something, again and again, but Ivy couldn't hear it. She tried to step closer, but the trees behind Eleanor moved, not with wind, but like they were breathing, alive, watching. Suddenly, Eleanor turned her head and mouthed 2 words, "Find me." Ivy woke up sweating, heart pounding, and on her window, a single fingerprint from the outside, smudged, small, and real. Ivy didn't tell anyone about the dream. Not at first. She thought it was guilt, a trick of the mind. But the next night, she heard tapping on her bedroom window, soft, careful, 3 times. She pulled the curtain. No one there, just the fog, thick, unmoving. But something was written on the glass, in a finger's trail. 1 word, deeper. She stared at it, heart racing. She didn't move, didn't breathe. The next morning, it was gone. No smudge, no mark, just cold glass, as if nothing had ever touched it. But Ivy knew it was real, too real. That day at school, Ivy couldn't focus. The hallways felt longer, quieter, like time moved differently. She walked past Eleanor's locker. The school hadn't emptied it yet, but something had changed. The lock was gone, hanging open. She looked around. No teachers, no students. She opened the door. Inside, everything was untouched. Photos, sticky notes, old gum wrappers. But on the top shelf, a folded paper, crisp, white, her name written on it. Just 1 word, Ivy. Her hands trembled. She unfolded it slowly. Inside, a map, hand-drawn, marked with a red X, in the woods. No words, no instructions. Just the symbol and a small stain that looked too much like blood. That night, Ivy followed the map. She told no one, not even her parents. The woods were silent, too silent. No birds, no breeze, just her footsteps and her breath. The trail was narrow, barely visible, but she kept walking toward the red X, closer and closer, until she found it. A tree, tall, twisted, its bark carved with lines, symbols, almost like scratches, but deeper, older. At the base of the tree, a box, wooden, cracked, covered in moss. She knelt down, opened it slowly. Inside, a locket, Eleanor's, and underneath it, a Polaroid photo. Ivy froze. The photo shook in her hand. It couldn't be real. No one had been in her room. She locked her door every night. She checked again. Same bed, same blanket. Her, eyes closed, peaceful. But in the corner of the photo, a shadow, tall, bent, watching her. From the doorway, she dropped the picture. The leaves rustled behind her. She turned. Nothing. But she felt it, that feeling, like she wasn't alone. She picked up the locket. It was cold, too cold. She opened it. Inside, a tiny note, folded tight, 3 words. Bring her back. Her breath caught, because it wasn't written in Eleanor's handwriting. It was hers. Ivy ran. She didn't look back. Branches cut her arms. Roots pulled at her feet. But she didn't stop. When she reached home, the lights were off. Even though her parents were inside, she opened the door. Silence. Too much silence. No TV. No footsteps. Just her own heartbeat. She called out. No answer. She climbed the stairs, step by step. Her bedroom door was open. Inside, everything was untouched, except one thing. On her bed, the photo, placed neatly. And next to it, the locket, open. The note was gone, but something else was inside. A new message, written in red. You brought her closer. That night, Ivy didn't sleep. She didn't even close her eyes. The next morning, Ivy's mother asked if she was okay. Ivy nodded, but she didn't speak. Didn't eat, didn't blink. At school, everyone seemed louder, but Ivy heard less, except one thing, a whisper, near her locker. It said her name. Once, then again. She turned. No one there. But on her locker door, a sticky note. Not hers. One word. Alone. She opened the locker. Everything was normal, except a single strand of long blonde hair. She knew it wasn't hers. It was Eleanor's. And it was tied around a tiny brass key. Rusty, cold, old, like it hadn't been touched in years. She pocketed it without thinking. And for the first time, she felt like she was being followed. That evening, Ivy couldn't stop staring at the key. It felt familiar, but she didn't know why. She took it out again, held it in her palm, cold, heavy, like it remembered things she didn't. Suddenly, she knew where it fit. Not at home, not at school, but in the old library. The one that had been closed for years, boarded up, forgotten. She had passed it every day, but never looked twice. Now she couldn't stop looking. That night, she snuck out, alone. The streets were quiet, too quiet. She reached the gate, locked, rusted, broken. She climbed it. Her hand bled, but she didn't stop. The library door stood tall, still shut. She reached into her pocket, pulled out the key. And as it slid into the lock, it turned. The door creaked open. Dust filled the air. Books lay scattered. Chairs overturned. Like time had stopped mid-sentence. Ivy stepped inside. The floor groaned beneath her feet. She didn't breathe, didn't blink. Her flashlight flickered. Once, twice, then steadied. She moved slowly. Shelves loomed around her, tall and empty. But one shelf had something. A single book, leather-bound, no title. She reached out, touched it. It was warm, too warm. She opened the cover. Nothing on the first page, or the second. But on the third, a photo of Eleanor. Standing in that very library. Behind her, a dark figure. No face, no eyes, only a shadow. With Ivy's necklace in its hand. Ivy dropped the book. It thudded softly. Dust rose. Her flashlight flickered again. She turned in a circle, looking, listening. The air grew colder. She could see her breath. Then, a whisper, low, broken, coming from the far aisle. She followed it, each step slower than the last. The shelves narrowed, tightened, until there was barely enough space to move. Then, she saw it, a mirror, tall, cracked, leaning against the wall. But in the reflection, she wasn't alone. Standing behind her was Eleanor, smiling. But the smile didn't reach her eyes. And Ivy? She wasn't moving, not in the mirror. She just stood there, still, like she had been frozen or replaced. Ivy blinked. The mirror didn't. Her reflection just stared back, frozen, expressionless. But Eleanor? She moved. Only in the glass. She stepped forward, smiling, then whispered something. But Ivy couldn't hear it. She leaned closer, pressed her ear to the mirror. And that's when she felt it. A breath, warm, from the other side. The glass fogged slightly. And in the fog, a message appeared, written by an unseen finger. 3 words, I am you. Ivy stepped back, shaking. No, she whispered. But the reflection nodded, still smiling, still silent. Then behind Eleanor, another figure appeared, taller, shadowed. And suddenly, the mirror shattered, and Ivy was alone. Glass covered the floor. Tiny pieces, sharp, silent. Ivy didn't move. She just stared. The mirror was gone. But her reflection still stood in the frame where the mirror had been, unmoving, watching. Eleanor was gone. So was the shadow. But that version of Ivy, it didn't fade. It just stared back. Then it smiled, not with kindness, but with knowledge, like it knew something Ivy didn't. She reached out, touched the empty space. Cold air swirled around her fingers, and for a second, she felt pulled in, like gravity had shifted, like something wanted her. On the other side, she pulled back, breathing fast. Then she heard it again, a whisper, her name, but not from the mirror. From the hallway behind her, Ivy turned. The hallway stretched into shadow, longer than she remembered, colder. The whisper came again. Ivy! She stepped forward. The floor creaked. She paused. Then another whisper. Closer. Ivy, help me. It was Eleanor. Her voice, faint, but real. Ivy followed the sound. One step, then another. The hallway twisted, bent in impossible ways, like a dream or a memory. On the wall, a handprint, small, faded, bloody. She reached out, placed her hand against it. Perfect match. The wall groaned, then cracked open. A narrow door appeared, and behind it, a staircase, leading down into darkness. Ivy stood at the top of the stairs. She couldn't see the bottom. Only shadows, only silence. She took a breath, then stepped down. 1, young, 2, 3. Each step creaked, each step colder. She held the wall. It pulsed, like a heartbeat. The air thickened, smelled of dust, and something else. Old perfume, like Eleanor's. Halfway down, she heard breathing. Not hers, not above. Below, soft, wheezing. She paused, but the stairs didn't. They moved, downward, faster. She couldn't stop, couldn't turn back. When the stairs ended, she was underground. Stone walls, no lights, only a single candle. And written beside it, in red ink, bring her back. Ivy stared at the words, bring her back, written in shaky letters, wet, still fresh. The candle flickered, like it heard her thoughts. She picked it up. Behind it, a tunnel, narrow, breathing, like lungs. She stepped in. The walls pulsed, alive. She walked slowly. Each step echoed, then stopped. Another candle, another message. This one carved into the stone. Trade. That was all it said. One word. Deep. Final. She turned to leave, but the tunnel behind her was gone. Only the path forward remained. In her shadow, it moved, a second slower than her, like it wasn't hers anymore. Ivy walked deeper. The tunnel curved, downward, like it was swallowing her. The air thinned. The candle burned lower. Then she saw it. A table, old, wooden, in the center of a stone room. Something was on it. A photo of Eleanor. And beside it, a mirror. Small, cracked. She looked in, but didn't see herself. She saw Eleanor, crying, mouth moving, no sound. Then a flash. A door slamming shut. Eleanor reaching, begging. Then gone. The candle died. Darkness swallowed everything, except the words that glowed on the wall. Only one can leave. Ivy stood frozen. Only one can leave. The words pulsed, faint glow, like veins under skin. She looked at the mirror again. Eleanor's eyes met hers. Sad, hopeful. Ivy whispered, "Why me?" The mirror cracked again. And in the shards, she saw flashes. Eleanor, locked in the library, pounding the mirror, screaming, but no one heard. Then Ivy, in her bedroom, holding the same book, whispers swirling, calling her. Now she understood. She wasn't chosen. She was connected, bound by something older, deeper. This wasn't rescue. It was a test, a trade, one soul for another. And time was running out. Ivy touched the mirror. It was warm, like skin, alive. Eleanor's face trembled, tears in her eyes. Ivy whispered, "How do I bring you back?" The glow around the words faded. Darkness pressed closer. Then, a soft breath behind her. She turned. No one, but on the table, a second photo of Ivy. Same clothes, same candlelight, but her eyes, empty, hollow, like something had already been taken. She backed away. The air thickened. Voices rose, layered, whispering, repeating, "Trade, choose, now." Then the mirror pulsed. Once, twice. It opened, like a door, and inside, Eleanor reached out her hand. Ivy didn't move. Eleanor's hand stayed still, waiting, not shaking, not pulling, just there, open, a silent invitation. Ivy's breath trembled. She looked behind her. Nothing, no exit, no sound, only her own heartbeat. She stepped forward, closer. Her fingers hovered above Eleanor's. 1 inch, half. Then, she stopped. A whisper inside her mind. Not Eleanor's, not hers. Something older. It said, "Once you take her hand, you do not return the same." Ivy closed her eyes, thought of laughter, rain, books, home. Then she opened her eyes and took the hand. The moment Ivy touched Eleanor's hand, everything melted. The tunnel, the mirror, the air, gone. She blinked. They stood in a field. Midnight sky above. Stars, but no moon, no sound. Eleanor was crying. "I didn't mean to," she whispered. Ivy held her hand tighter. "What happened?" Eleanor looked down. Ashes clung to her dress. "I opened the wrong book. I said the wrong name." Ivy stepped back. The ground beneath her cracked, like glass. Reflections shimmered. Dozens of Ivies, screaming, trapped, burning. She shut her eyes. When she opened them, they were in the library again. But different, older, colder. And a voice spoke from the dark. "You've crossed over." The library looked the same. But it wasn't. Books were torn, shelves broken, dust floated like snow. Ivy turned. Eleanor was gone. Only the candle remained, burning blue. She picked it up. Her fingers stung. Cold fire. She walked. The floor creaked beneath her. Soft whispers circled. Not words, just sound, breathing. She followed it, past the reading table, past the broken clock. Then a heartbeat. Loud, slow, coming from the walls. She placed her hand on the shelf. It pulsed, alive. Behind the books, a door. Small, locked, but on it, a symbol, an eye, open. And beneath it, carved deep, truth has a price. Ivy stared at the eye. It didn't blink, but she felt seen, exposed. She touched the symbol. It was warm, alive. Then a soft click. The door opened. Dark inside. She stepped in. The candle dimmed. The air was thick, like fog and ash. The room was round, no corners, just shelves, covered in mirrors. Each one showing her, but different, smiling, crying, screaming, sleeping. One mirror cracked. A whisper came from it. "You're not the first." Another cracked. "You won't be the last." Ivy turned around, but the door, gone. Only the whispers remained, in a single chair in the middle, waiting. Ivy sat, the chair creaked, the mirrors shimmered. Then a voice, soft, old. "You came." Ivy looked around. No one, just reflections. Then the voice again. "You opened the gate." The mirrors flickered. Scenes flashed. A child reading alone. A girl hiding under blankets. A whisper in the dark. Her whisper. Her fears. Her dreams. All here. Exposed. Echoing. "I didn't ask for this," Ivy said. The voice replied, "But you listened. And that's all it ever takes." Ivy stood up, but the chair held her. Heavy. Cold. Rooted. The mirrors cracked. Together. And in every shard, she saw Eleanor, screaming. The screaming didn't stop. But Ivy wasn't sure if it was Eleanor. Or her. The mirrors kept cracking, one by one. Each shard fell like glass rain. Cold. Silent. Deadly. She struggled. The chair didn't move. Her hands trembled. Not from fear. From something else. Recognition. The images in the mirrors weren't just memories. They were warnings. Ivy had been here before. Long ago. In dreams. In nightmares. She remembered the whisper under her bed. The flicker in her closet. The book she found but never opened. Until now. She opened her mouth, but her voice wasn't hers. It whispered, "You were always meant to return." The chair released her. She fell to the floor, gasping. And when she looked up, there was no room, no mirrors, no Eleanor. Only pages, floating, burning, in a single word, rewrite. The pages floated, some blank, some burned, some bleeding ink. Ivy stood slowly, her breath shaky. She reached for a page. It flew, then another. Each one whispered her name. Ivy, Ivy, soft, calling, like lullabies made of shadows. She caught one, held it. The ink shifted, moved. Lines wrote themselves. A scene, a door, a girl, a mirror. She gasped. It was her, drawn in ink, step by step. Everything she did, already there, already written. She turned the page. Next, a scream. Eleanor's. She wasn't free. Not yet. A new line appeared. Page 32, the trap. Ivy stepped back. No. The pages circled her. Faster, tighter. And the voice returned. If you won't finish the story, someone else will. The pages fell, flat, still, Only one remained floating. Ivy, it whispered. She grabbed it. It burned her skin, but she didn't let go. Words bled onto the paper. Page 32. A room, circular. Walls made of watches, ticking. No hands, just ticking. Faster, louder. Ivy looked up. The room appeared around her, real. The ticking echoed inside her chest. Each tick a memory, each talk a choice. Then silence. A figure stood ahead. Not Eleanor, not Ivy, but familiar. It held a book, bound in black, locked. No key, just a hole, heart-shaped. The figure pointed. To end it, you must remember. Ivy's hands trembled. She looked down. The burn mark on her palm matched the hole. Ivy stared at her palm. The burn mark pulsed. Alive. A heart without rhythm. She stepped forward. The figure didn't move. The book waited. Black. Breathing. She pressed her palm into the hollow. Click. It opened. Dust rose. Heavy. Like breath held for centuries. The pages turned on their own. Blank. Blank. Then a drawing. Of Ivy. Not now. Younger. 6 years old. In her room, holding a candle. Whispering. Her first call to the mirror. She gasped. I don't remember this. The figure spoke. But the house does. Next page. Eleanor. Trapped. Hands on glass. Eyes hollow. Mouth open, screaming silently. I left her, Ivy whispered. No, the figure replied. You were taken. The pages began to glow. Heat spread. The book was ending. But the story? Just beginning. The book burned brighter. The figure stepped back, fading. Its face still hidden. Ivy, it whispered. You were the beginning. The pages flipped faster. Words forming. Memories Ivy never lived, yet felt. Cold nights, candle whispers, cracks in the mirror, eyes watching from the dark. She remembered the lullaby, not her mother's, but the house's, sung every night, in silence, to keep her in, not safe, but chosen, chosen to stay. Eleanor was the escape. She wasn't. She was the gate. Ivy fell to her knees. Tears dropped on the burning pages. And still, they didn't burn. They absorbed her sorrow, her truth. The book pulsed, then stopped. Only one page left. Empty. Waiting. The figure turned. Finish it, it said. Or let it finish you. The page waited. Empty. Breathing. Ivy held the pen, but it wasn't ink. It was her blood, her truth, her story. She hesitated. What if she wrote the wrong ending? What if she never left? She closed her eyes, heard the echoes, laughter, crying, her own voice calling Eleanor. From years ago, a forgotten memory, but not lost, not anymore. She wrote, I was the key. The book glowed, warm, welcoming, forgiving. The figure stepped closer, its face still hidden, but its shadow smiled. You remembered. Ivy nodded, tears in her eyes. The room faded. The watches stopped ticking. No more mirrors, no more pages, only a door, one she had never seen. Until now. The door was old, wooden, cracked, but it breathed, like lungs waiting. Ivy reached for the handle. Cold, metal, heavy. She turned it, slowly. The door opened. Darkness, not empty, alive. She stepped in, and everything changed. She wasn't in the house anymore. Not really. She was outside, but not her world. A forest, silent, trees without leaves, sky without stars, and in the center a mirror. It broken, but glowing. She walked to it. In the reflection, Eleanor, standing still, waiting. But this time, she smiled. Not haunting, not hurt, peaceful. Ivy touched the glass. I found you. Eleanor nodded. You freed me. Then the reflection shimmered. Eleanor was gone, replaced by Ivy's own face, but younger. 6 years old, smiling, free, nay. The mirror faded, and the forest melted. Ivy blinked. She was back, but not in the house, not in the room, somewhere smaller, tighter. She looked around. Walls of fabric, strings above her head, toys on the ground. It was her old room, not the haunted one, the real one, from childhood. She sat on the bed. It creaked. The air smelled like dust and old lullabies. She saw the music box, the one her mother gave her, still closed. She reached for it, hands shaking. She opened it. No music, just a note, folded, yellowed. She read, "You were born during a storm. They said you didn't cry. You listened. You always listened." Ivy stared at the words. They weren't from her mother. They were from the house. She stood up, heart pounding. And then a voice behind her. "You were never meant to leave." Ivy froze. She didn't turn. She knew the voice. It was hers, but older, colder. She whispered, "Who are you?" The answer came slow. "I'm the part of you that stayed, the part that watched, the part that never forgot." Ivy turned, and there she was, herself. Same face, but eyes dark, still, unblinking. "You listened to the whispers," the double said. "You let them in. You let them write." Ivy shook her head. "No, I wanted the truth." The other Ivy smiled. "Truth is a mirror. Break it and all you see is yourself." The room flickered. The toys vanished. The bed dissolved. Just two Ivies, one shaking, one still. Then the music box played, soft, haunting, the song from the mirror. They both listened, and one of them began to fade. The music grew louder, but only in her mind. Ivy looked at her reflection. Still there, still watching. The other Ivy stepped closer, face inches away. "I was born from silence," she said, "fed by fear, grown by your forgetting." Ivy whispered, "Then fade. You're not real." But the shadow laughed. "I'm more real than your memories. I kept them safe. You ran, I stayed." The mirror behind them cracked. One line, then another. Fractures spreading. Ivy's heart raced. She had to choose. Speak or stay silent. She closed her eyes, took a breath, and said, "My name is Ivy. I remember. I am not afraid." The room flashed. The shadows screamed without sound. It shattered. Light spilled. Soft, warm. The mirror cleared. And Ivy saw only one reflection. Hers. The light faded. But it didn't leave. It stayed in her. Warm. Steady. Ivy looked around. The room was gone. No toys. No music box. No mirror. Just sky. Endless. Soft blue. She stood barefoot on nothing, but felt no fear. Then a voice. Not outside. Inside. "You passed." It was the house. Gentle now. Tired. Old. "You remembered who you were. You chose yourself." Ivy smiled. "I choose stillness. I choose peace." The sky rippled, and a door appeared. Simple. White. She walked to it. Touched the handle. It didn't burn. It welcomed. She turned once. Behind her, no shadows. No cries. Only silence. Then she stepped through, and for the first time since midnight, Ivy was free. The door behind her vanished. Ivy stood in a hallway. White walls, soft lights, no sound. Just air, clean, still. At the end of the hall, a table. and on it a letter, sealed, old paper, no name, but she knew. It was for her. She opened it, hands calm, inside a single page. It read, "You were never lost. You were hidden, for your own heart to find." The whispers weren't enemies. They were echoes. Echoes of you. Ivy breathed in and exhaled peace. This wasn't horror. Not anymore. This was memory. Unfolded. Accepted. She folded the letter again, close to her chest, and walked on. The hallway curved. Soft as a dream, Ivy followed. Bare feet. Light steps. Then a window. Tall. Thin. She looked through it. A garden. Moonlit. Still. But not empty. Someone stood there. Back turned. Motionless. A girl in white. Hair to her waist. Ivy's heart slowed. She opened the window. No sound. Just wind. She whispered, "Eleanor?" The figure didn't move. But Ivy heard it, a voice. So soft it wasn't voice at all. It said, "Not all ghosts want to be remembered. Some want to rest." Ivy whispered again, "I remember you. I carried your name. I gave you peace." The wind answered, "You gave yourself peace." And the garden faded. Not gone, just done, like a chapter closed. Ivy smiled. She kept walking. The hallway ended, but 3 doors waited, identical, silent. Ivy stood still. Then she heard them. Not voices, feelings, from each door. Left, regret. Middle, love. Right, fear. She touched the first. Regret. It was cold. The handle didn't move. Closed. Passed. She walked to the second. Love. Warm, but distant, like sunlight through glass. She smiled. Not opened. Just remembered. Then the third. Fear. The handle pulsed. Alive. Waiting. Ivy paused. Took a breath. And opened it. Darkness again. But she didn't flinch. She stepped in and whispered, "I'm not afraid to feel you." The darkness didn't swallow her. It listened. And for the first time, it bowed. The darkness surrounded her. But it didn't press in. It listened, like a room waiting for breath. Ivy stood still, eyes closed. No sound. No pull. Only one thing remained, a question. It came from nowhere, but it echoed everywhere. "Who are you without the whispers?" She didn't answer at first. She let it settle, sink. Then she whispered, "I am." Not "I am Ivy," not "I am free," just "I am." And the darkness sighed, like wind through old trees. A light opened above her. Not bright, not blinding, just enough. She looked up. No walls, no floor, just a scent. The voice returned, soft. "You don't have to climb. You already did." And Ivy, she smiled, tears in her eyes, but no sorrow, only knowing. She wasn't escaping. She was becoming. She walked forward, but there was no ground. Still, she didn't fall. She rose. With each step, the air beneath her held, lifted, guided, like memory turned to wings. She saw reflections, not mirrors. Moments. Herself as a child, crying, laughing, hiding, running. Every version of her, all watching, all waiting. They didn't speak. They just smiled and disappeared. She whispered, "Thank you." And the wind whispered back, "You found us. You didn't leave us behind." At the end of nothing, a gate. Golden. Simple. Open. She didn't hesitate. She stepped through. And there on the other side was morning. The sky was soft gold. Clouds drifted like whispers. The air smelled like memory. Not bitter, not sweet, just real. Ivy stepped into the light, barefoot on grass. Dew kissed her toes. Birdsong touched her ears. It didn't startle. It healed. She looked around. Trees swayed, not haunted, just alive. In the distance, a small house, wooden, simple, smoke curling from the chimney. She walked toward it, heart steady, not racing, no weight pulling her back. At the doorbell, she didn't ring it. She knocked once. The door opened slowly. No one stood there, but warmth poured out, and a voice, soft and kind, said, "Welcome home." Ivy stepped inside and left the night behind. Whoa, the house was small, but full of light, of time, of stillness. Ivy moved through it slowly, touched the wooden walls, the old books, the windows that let sunrise in. She boiled tea, not rushed, not nervous, just present. She sat by the window, watched the sky change, from gold to blue. Birds passed by. Clouds too. No shadows chased her. No echoes pulled her back. Just her, here, now. She opened a journal. Blank pages waited. She wrote, "Midnight didn't take me. It taught me. I was never a ghost. I was a girl who listened and found her name again." She closed the journal, held it close. A knock at the door. Not loud, not urgent. She smiled and whispered, "Let this story begin." She opened the door. A boy stood there, 17 maybe, hair messy, eyes tired, but kind. He held something, a box, old, wooden. He didn't speak, just offered it. She took it gently. Inside letters, dozens, all addressed to the girl who vanished. She looked up. He said, "They weren't for you alone." She nodded, invited him in. He stepped softly, like someone learning how to exist. She made tea again, poured 2 cups. They didn't talk much, but silence wasn't empty. It was full of knowing. He read one letter, hands shaking, eyes full. She listened, not to the words, but to the pain behind them. She whispered, "You're not too late." And he cried, not loudly, but like someone who finally found a place to land. She held the last letter. The boy watched. No rush, no pressure, just silence. She opened it. The paper was thin. The ink faded, but the words still alive. It read, "If you find this, it means you came back, not to a place, but to yourself." We waited. We whispered. We watched. And now we rest. Because you remembered. Because you listened. Because you didn't forget the girl. She folded the letter, hands steady, heart quiet. The boy asked, "Who wrote it?" She smiled. "Someone who knew I would need it." She placed the letter back in the box, closed it, not to hide it, but to honor it. They sat side by side, not lost, not alone, just here, with a story, and the ending almost written. Morning stayed, not rushed, not fading, just present. Ivy stood at the edge of the field, the boy beside her. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. The wind moved around them, not cold, not urgent, just enough. She handed him the journal, the one with her story. He flipped through, pages full of ink and breath. He asked, "What now?" She looked up at the sky. Soft clouds, open air. She said, "Now we write." He smiled, and for the first time, she saw no fear in his eyes, only hope. They turned back to the house, not to hide, to begin. Inside, the box of letters sat quietly, like a finished chapter. Outside, birds rose high, and the world didn't whisper anymore. It sang. If this story whispered to your soul, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because sometimes all it takes to save someone is a story softly told. This was Whisper Crimes. and we will be waiting for you to return